Hello and welcome to this leadership interview on behalf of Women Automotive Network. I'm your host today. My name is Micha Goebig, founder and CEO of Goebig Coaching and Communications. We support women in automotive and tech to lead with confidence in male-dominated environments. Today, I am very honored and excited to be talking to Linda Jackson, Global CEO of Peugeot, about her outstanding career in the automotive industry. Thank you so much for being with us today. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to this. I hope I'm looking forward to it.
Before we dive in, let me tell people a little bit about your career, just the highlights. Linda Jackson served in a variety of finance and commercial roles at Jaguar, Land Rover, and the Rover Group before joining PSA in 2005. At PSA, she initially held senior leadership positions at Citroën, most distinctly as the brand's Global CEO from 2014 to 2020. And for the past 3 years, she has been the Global CEO of Peugeot and a member of the Stellantis top executive team. All right, Linda, this is so exciting. You are one of the first 3 women to really lead a major car company. Was that promotion, becoming a CEO of a car company, to your current role, the proudest career moment for you, or was there anything else?
No, to be honest with you, I think that was the proudest moment. I mean, I've been very lucky. I've started at the very bottom and worked my way all the way up. And therefore, I'd had some very, sort of important roles like, sort of head of a particular brand in France, etc., etc. But to actually get a brand CEO position back in 2014 when I was appointed in Citroën, and to be a member of the executive board was like moving from the bottom of Mount Everest onto Mount Everest. It was a little bit like that. It was an enormous learning curve. So it was the proudest moment of my life, I think, in terms of work career. So yeah, I would say that, and then obviously to get a second chance to do another brand, perhaps an even more iconic French brand, which is Peugeot, was just like the cherry on the cake. So and different challenges. Citroën was a different challenge. Peugeot is all about going into the electric world and making us an EV brand, and wanting to become an EV leader by 2025 and all of those things. So different challenges, but equally as proud. And there is a sense of pride as well in terms of how you build teams and all of those sort of things. So, but yeah, that was the proudest moment of my career, was the first one, and then obviously the second one, and being part of Stellantis, which is like, again, it's just the merger of FCA and PSA to create Stellantis as one of the major automotive ones, and be part of that is just tremendous. It's an opportunity you could never dream about.
Yeah, that is really something. Yeah, you probably did not dream of that when you started. And the interesting thing, you just mentioned it already, you really spent your entire career in automotive.
I did.
I wonder what the biggest challenge was.
Oh, wow.
For you personally.
Well, I mean, I suppose the very fact that I've chosen to stop in the automotive business means I love it. And because you don't stop in something and continue to do it unless you really, really enjoy it, because you have to give 100% of your time. I suppose the fact that I've organically grown in my career helps, so that you sort of get used to the responsibility and the stress and all of the things that happen. And as I say, the fact that I've been here for 40 years means that I must enjoy it. And I suppose
I would hope so, yes.
Question of what's the greatest challenge? Maybe I've been fortunate. Probably the greatest challenge is believing in myself, because I think I'm probably 2 things. I'm one, a perfectionist. I love to get things right, as we all do. But you also have to learn sometimes that you can't be a perfectionist all the time, because otherwise you would never ever actually achieve anything. So you'd never do anything. You'd always wait until I got the perfect presentation. So I think the challenges that I've overcome, I mean, I've been fortunate in that I haven't been hit by discrimination in any way,
Mm-hmm.
really. And I've been very much encouraged. I mean, I have been fortunate, which is also one of the reasons that I've done quite a lot of work with the Institute of Motor Industry in the UK about encouraging diversity and all of those things, because I think it's important. But I think the biggest challenge to overcome was me, and
Mm-hmm.
really having the
Yeah.
confidence in myself to be able to move up and accept that responsibility and all of the things that go with it. So probably it's me was the biggest challenge, and
Thank you for
luckily I've overcome
sharing
it.
that. I think that is so important for our audience to hear, because I'm sure they're also, we have a lot of listeners. Thank you for that, people to all join us here. But I think many of them are also in earlier stages of their career, and hearing that you say, hey, the biggest challenge is really my mind, my mindset and everything. It's so important because people feel that way.
Well,
Um,
when I say the biggest challenge is me, and it's in a couple of senses, and this is why, when people say to me, "Oh, would you do it again?" Well, yes, I would, because, and I wouldn't
mhm.
change anything that I've done. Probably I would work less, maybe, because maybe I try to prove things a little bit too much. But what have I had to overcome is the fact that, A, have confidence in yourself and believe you can
Mhm.
do it. And I think the turning point as I went up this ladder, the turning point was I actually decided I needed to get out of my comfort zone. And my comfort zone was that I'd always worked in the UK.
Mhm.
And my comfort zone was to come out of the UK. And I didn't go very far. I mean, I'm really impressed by people that go to the opposite sides of the world. But yeah, I went over this, what we call the Channel, and I went to work in France in a completely different environment. And this was back in the 1990s. So it was not the environment that it's like today. So it was a very, very different culture, and obviously a
Yeah.
different language. And it was really, if you like, challenging myself to come out of that comfort zone, because I could have stayed in the UK and continued.
Mhm.
Would I be where I am now? No, I don't think so. But that's sometimes what you have to overcome, is that, if you really want to move up, and you have to be able to say, okay, I'm going to feel a bit uncomfortable right now, and maybe for the next year, because
Yeah.
it's a big challenge. And that's a little bit like going back to when you said, what was the greatest opportunity that you had, and when were you proud? Was when I became brand CEO of Citroen, and that was like, as I say, moving from one level completely up to the top of
Yeah.
Mount Everest, because here was I at the time in charge of Citroen, a brand in the UK, which was
Mhm.
an important job. But then
Right.
to be globally in charge, plus all of the strategy and the product, and also be part of the executive team working for Carlos Tavares, which was setting out what's going to be the strategy for the group. I mean, that's just like two levels. And therefore, again, that was me coming out of my comfort zone and really saying, okay, Linda, you can do this. Yeah. But you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
believe in yourself at some point.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I would like to add on to that. It's like for women in automotive, what do you see as the main attraction right now? Like when people are considering or are starting their careers in automotive.
Well, I think if you're coming into the automotive business now, you are the luckiest person. And I wish I could be 40 years younger to be able to come back into this industry. And I'll tell you why. Because what's happening, in my opinion, what's happening in the next 5, 10 years is far more exciting and more disruptive and
Mhm.
challenging, but more disruptive than has happened in the previous 40 years. I mean, I've now coming into an era where we're going electrification, we're going to digitalization, we're going into chat GBT, we're going into completely new customer experiences.
Mhm.
We don't think it's unusual to buy something online. We want personalized customer experiences. I mean, you name it, every single aspect of the automotive business is changing. So it is a fantastic time to be moving into something which is moving, if you like, from the old mechanical view of what a car is. And of course,
Mhm.
it's still a mechanical thing, and we still need super engineers, but it's also about software and the interface of software and the interrelationship skills of people as well. So I think it's the opportunities that it offers. Anybody who wants to come into the automotive one, there are so many opportunities now
Yeah.
that, as I say, I think it's ultra exciting as an industry, and the challenge of all of the things that we're doing to be sustainable. I mean,
Yeah.
Stellantis, of which Peugeot is a part, we are going to become carbon net zero by 2038, which is not that far away now.
Mm-mm.
And that's not just about selling electric vehicles, it's about how we buy our parts, where we make the parts, what we do in our factories, what we do in our dealerships, all of those things. And wow, to be working on that in terms of circular economy, I mean, it's so exciting. So I am jealous of the people that are coming into the industry right now, to be honest with you. And
They
maybe I can live to 110 and be able to be here, but you never know.
Yeah, so it's an entire industry out of its comfort zone, right? So that is very, very exciting.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when I say to people, well, why wouldn't women want to be in the automotive industry? When generally, if I look across the customers, 50% of them are female. So why
Mhm.
wouldn't they want to have an influence on
Yeah.
how we produce cars, where we produce cars, what we have as a customer experience? And also, I remember many years ago, and I think it is probably now about 8 or 9 years ago, and I'm sure it hasn't changed. There was a survey that was done by the UK, somewhere at some magazine in the UK, which said that behind something like 90 to 95% of the decisions to buy a car, it was the woman who had made the decision.
Yes,
So
yes.
once again, why wouldn't women want to be in this exciting industry? So
Yeah,
there
yeah.
you are.
It makes a lot more, it's a lot more fun to make a decision about something that really speaks to you, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I also always say to people is that when people buy a car, they're expressing an emotion because it says something. I mean, okay, there may be 1% of the of consumers that buy it because they need to get to A to B, they want the cheapest car or whatever it may be. But the majority of us buy a car that says something about what we are, our status,
Mhm.
or what we aspire to be, or what we like. So it's an emotional buy. So again, that's
Yeah.
super, super exciting, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and you mentioned earlier diversity came up really briefly, and I would really like you to tell us a little more about why DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, means so much to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it's important why. And you can look at the very statistics that come out of it, and it says, if you have a more diverse workforce, you get more creativity because you get sharing of all those ideas, and that's absolutely true. And I've got experience of that, having worked in France, having been in charge of a global company. So I know in my team, something like 50% of them are non-French. So they're coming from, so we've
Mhm.
got 50% from across the world, from Brazil to China to South Korea to Europe, of course, but Mexican, whatever it may be. And therefore, why is it important? It's because we all live in our own little worlds. And it's important that we understand what's outside. And it's also important that we realize that our customers are not all in our own little world. I know I live in France, but not all my customers live in France. I need to have a team that represents who I'm selling to. And that can be
Mhm.
anything from, as we quite say, ethnicity to culture to gender, whatever it may be. So we need to have a team that reflects that, and we need to be able to think like that because the world is global now. So I think it's important for me that we push that, and particularly in the automotive industry, where historically it's been seen as very much a male dominated environment, not particularly embracing for females, or even embracing for people of different ethnicities, for
Mhm.
disabled people, or whatever it may be. So for me, it's important that we recognize that everybody has their part to play, and we've all got different ideas, and therefore that mix is absolutely going to deliver better results.
Yeah.
And just to go back to Stellantis, which is what I'm a part of, we've got over 160 different nationalities.
Mhm.
And or, you can be on a meeting, a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting like we are right now, and you can have people expressing their opinion from in Brazil to somebody expressing it in Japan. And they're different, completely different, because they have a different take on life. And I think that's when you really become customer centric. Whatever you're selling or whatever you're doing, is when you realize that you need to be able to understand your customers and obviously understand all of those things. But as a personal experience, then having a diverse team creates so many ideas, so much
I love that.
creativity.
I love that because it's diversity of ideas and opinions in the end to have a diverse workforce. Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Exactly.
What role, like, we are the Women Automotive Network on this, and we are very happy for your support here. But can you generally tell us a little bit about how do networks like female networks help women in this industry? What's the importance?
Well, I think the importance is, and we talked a little bit about it, is people often say to me, well, you ought to see yourself as a role model, which I think is awful to think of yourself as a role model. But if you can be able to give support to women and express how you've got to where you have and what you've been through personally, I think it's a much better real experience that you can share with people than a true experience, if you like, very authentic experience that you can share with people, because otherwise it becomes a little bit sort of theory, and it's not that you've lived through it. I have lived through it and I've moved forward. I've been fortunate in maybe getting chances and what have you, but I know what it means, and therefore I think the support that you can give, whether, for example, I mentor people, or as I say, I've been working very closely with the Institute of Motor Industry on leading a working group on diversity, particularly in gender, then I think you understand that those types of organizations, whether it be the Women's Network, whatever it may be, you provide an environment which is safe, which is important, where people can express their opinions, but also they can understand and talk to people who are either living the same as them or have lived it and have learned from it. And I think that's the real benefit. So I think it's ultra important to be able to share and to share experiences, and therefore for me that's the real benefit is how can we empower women in the automotive sector to be able to support each other. And this is a great example. I mean, okay, you're hearing me go on, but I mean, if I can at least have an influence on you and say, well, yeah, I know what it's like, come out of your comfort zone, or believe in yourself, or don't work so hard, or whatever it may be, if I can help encourage more people to come into this great sort of automotive, or anything really, women coming in and really being proud of what they're doing and really making a mark in whatever industry, then I think it's all worthwhile. You've played your part.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And I appreciate that you don't want to feel a little uncomfortable being called a role model, but maybe that's your step out of the comfort zone right now, that very many younger women do definitely see you as an amazing role model because you have the experience. So this is so valuable. Thank you for that. And we have a little more time, or almost that time. I would like you to tell us also, you said you would love to do it all over again and not change much, but if you were, with the knowledge you have today, talking to your 16-year-old self, or a daughter, a 16-year-old, what advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
Okay, that's a great question. So what would I say to myself? Well, I'd probably say, well, you still have to work hard, because there is no magic secret or recipe. It's all about hard work. And sometimes it's about being in the right place at the right time, let's be honest. But it is about hard work. It would definitely be believe in yourself, because I think that's a really important one. And I learned that I need to believe in myself, have confidence, and realize that, that you're as good as anybody else. I was reading something about when women apply for a role, that they look at, maybe there's 10 things experience you need, And if we haven't got 9 of the 10, we say, no, I'm not going to apply.
Or 11 of the 10, right?
Or 11 of the 10, exactly. But a man will look at the first 3 and say, yeah, it's okay, I'll be able to wing it for the rest of them. Yeah. So that's a perfect example of take confidence in yourself. And so, I mean, I think work hard. I would say believe in yourself, go out of your comfort zone if you have to, because unfortunately, sometimes you do. Number 3 would be never give up. Never give up. If you really want something, never give up. And the last thing that I think is really important, and I try to do this now as much as I did 40 years ago, 20 years, is have fun. Because we spend so much time at work that you need to have fun. You need to enjoy it. And it's like I say, I wouldn't have remained in this fantastic automotive industry if I didn't enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You need to have fun. So yeah, work hard, believe in yourself, never give up, and have fun.
I could not agree more. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun for me. And I know that you have a hard stop in 3 minutes. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Linda, so much for sharing, giving us some insights into your career, your opinions, and the future you see for this exciting industry. That was really so valuable for all of us. Thanks again.
Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed myself. Hopefully I haven't talked too much.
No. We could have gone on for hours. Seriously.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and this was the last leadership interview of this year. But Women Automotive Network has a lot of exciting events on LinkedIn and in real life coming up next year, and online events, hybrid. And so stay tuned. And for now, I wish everybody happy holidays and a happy new year. See you in 2024.